All right. Hi, guys. So today we're going to talk a little bit about your NGO project and what that means and what the goal of the project is. So as we're moving through these different chapters that are really defining what urban ecology is, setting up the differences between form and function, utilizing and pulling on, some terminology that we use for just ecology as a whole, when we're trying to understand ecosystems and species interaction and niches, right? How do those then apply to a space that is specifically created for humans, right? Even though we are making spaces that maybe animals traditionally wouldn't be creating in nature on their own, we are still intervening ourselves into the natural environment, right? So as we continue to make form and function work for us, we may be displacing or encouraging things from nature to work for us or against us. And so, as I'm sure you're reading through these things, and as maybe even you read through the opening sort of discussion boards, and we're thinking about health, right? I hope the wheels are starting to turn a little bit about how I never really saw the city in this way. And it may be Dallas, it may be your hometown, right? Maybe you are experiencing some drastic change with inside of your own hometown. Um, Globalization and urbanization are going to go hand in hand as the human race continues to progress and move forward, right, with technological advances and everything else in between. So, for the goal of this project, what you're going to do is you're going to consider something that maybe has ticked you off in the past. Why is there trash on the side of the road? Or how come they're polluting a local waterway or stream? To actually, it'd be really cool to make a park over there. Or I wonder if anybody's thinking about how to make that playground equipment more safe, but also more environmentally friendly, right? So these are all things that an urban ecologist would kind of need to think about: urban planning, urban design. Again, going back to that form and function. Maybe there is a specific type of animal that you want to advocate for. Maybe there's a certain type of animal you want to eradicate, right? Or an insect you want to eradicate, or concerns around viruses, bacteria, because as we kind of co-localize in cities, right, we bring with us a term that nature doesn't know, which is garbage, right? Not waste in the traditional sense of what we think of, but garbage, right? Nature doesn't have that. Everything gets recycled. So, considering all of these things, you are now going to become an advocate for an NGO. So what is that going to entail? Let's look at that. So the goal of really this right now is simply just to give you an overview of the project, right? This is just introducing you to the directions and what you will be doing. I will be following up with a breakdown of the application for a video. I will also be breaking down the strategic plan in a video, and I will also be breaking down the video presentation itself that you will be putting together in a video. So just hold tight. Again, I'm going to handhold you through this process. This is something that students have really enjoyed in the past. And believe it or not, I know I've mentioned it in the first video I posted on kind of the first week of class. I have actually had students, I'm currently sitting on an advisory board for a student who graduated in the past and did start their own NGO. So again, these things, while maybe you aren't going to go off and create your own NGO, this is something that you can use in your portfolio to showcase applying for something, putting together a strategic plan, and then again, putting together an elevator pitch essentially to sell your concept, right? So whatever you're going to go into as far as your career and workforce, what is it that you are going to be using as your skill set? You might have to sell a client on something. This is all good skills that you're building through this type of project. Okay, I've said enough. So first thing I want to just showcase is the overall timeline, right? So By the end of next week, you're just going to fill out the application. And again, this is a form. I'm going to walk you through that in another video, but it is simply something that you are just filling out. So really over the next week, you're just going to start brainstorming, what would I want my NGO to be? You're going to do some research, and I'll talk a little bit more about that to begin with. And then you're going to fill out and submit your application as if you're applying to the city, right? To me, to receive funding. Really, the goal is you're trying to make a pitch to me as the city that I am going to cut part of my budget and give it to you and say, you've got a good NGO, go start it, right? So that's the goal. You will then break down these things over the next couple of weeks and submit this piecemeal over again the next couple of Sundays as you're putting this together with your final video submission. You will then review other students in the class, their NGO pitches. You'll give some commentation and give some feedback on their pitch. And then we're all going to collectively vote. Whoever gets the highest amount of votes, they're going to get a couple extra bonus points for the project as extra credit. So let's go and look at what our goal is. So I will have all of this posted for you to click on. But again, just read through the background introduction. I've kind of given you a brief overview of what the goal of the project is, but I know that we may not know what an NGO is. So a non-government organization. So we know that the city of Dallas has a transportation department, right? They have safety and sanitation. They have a water department, right? Those are government agencies and government bodies that receive a state-funded budget, that receive allocation. People vote on these things. They go on the dockets in November, right, for referendums, so that people can say, yes, I want my tax dollars to go to this, or no, I don't want my tax dollars to go to it. That may be a great place to start. You could go to your local city or town. You could go to the City of Dallas's website, and you can see what some things in those unique departments that they're focusing on. You may actually find a couple of things. One, some of the things that you may be interested in creating an NGO around, the city may be already advocating for. Or you may see that the city is partnering with a non-government organization to help increase the awareness of whatever it is they're trying to introduce to the general public. That happens all the time where public and private, right, come together to try and advocate on behalf of the best interest of the individuals or animals or water or et cetera, inside of a city. And so again, maybe your NGO is something that is partnering with the city on one of their initiatives, but that may be a good place to start just to kind of get things going. As the city can't do everything on its own, and maybe there are people that are just angry enough or saying it's not moving quick enough to where they're going to go out and become an advocate on their own. Go to Facebook, type in anything that you potentially think you want to find a group for, and I assure you there is a group that exists that will purely be dedicated to that one particular topic. That's another great place to maybe even start and look. The goal again is that you are creating a space, a niched area in which maybe something doesn't exist. And this is where you should be thinking about what's important to you, right? If there is something you feel you wish there was more advocacy for, this is the greatest, most fun thing you could possibly do is go out and research how would I actually attack something like that without maybe having to have the fear that you couldn't do something about it or that it might be too much, right? This is kind of maybe going to give you the impetus to look into and research that. So I've also included some links here for just overall definitions, answers, kind of what overall, organizations may look like on a national level. And then there's overall directories. Start there. What is an NGO? What does it look like? What is in my surrounding area? What are some of the hot topics, right? Then once you're familiar with this, now you're going to start to brainstorm. What looks interesting to me? And maybe you want to go and now really find just all the NGOs in the surrounding area that are focusing in on that particular topic. There's a reason for this, because theoretically now that's your competition, right? Because as a nonprofit, all nonprofits are trying to find funding. So remember, you're trying to get me to say you get the funding. So as a kind of having to put on that business hat side of it now, how are you out competing, or what are you going to do that's even more unique compared to another NGO that is maybe advocating for something similar, right? Again, it's kind of that push-pull dynamic where the squeaky oil, the squeaky wheel is going to get the oil. The more hyper specific you are, and again, I'll talk about this in more detail in the next couple of videos, the better chances you're going to be at getting that funding and that support where you need it. Okay, so just back to the general directions. Read through the things to remember. The biggest thing I really want to highlight here is you are not going to another NGO that you found interesting, and this is going to be for my people who are nudge, nudge, hint, hint, wink, wink, waiting until the very last moment to submit this project, that you're going to just go to an NGO website and you're going to copy and paste what they're doing. You're going to see some of the things inside of your application, and you're going to see that exact language on an NGO website, and you're going to panic and say, uh-oh, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. I need to submit this. And you're just going to copy and paste it, right? That's not the goal. The goal is for you to really think through, what do you want to attack here? What is the mission and vision? What's the goals of your specific thing? There may not be anything like what you're researching, right? That's going to be the best case scenario, because now you're very exclusive. Additionally, I've got what to do: be creative, research, look through all the things, and most importantly, be sure to include everything. There's going to be aspects where you're going to have to come up with numbers for a budget. I understand you don't know this stuff. You have no idea what the budget is going to look like. You're making it up for the context of this assignment. But again, it needs to be within reason. You should not be asking me for hundreds of millions of dollars, and you shouldn't really only be asking me for hundreds of dollars. This is where looking at other NGOs, looking at some of their budgets in the past, and again, that will come in another video. I'll break that down further. That you're looking at, okay, what's the parameters by which they're working in? What are they requesting funding for? Oh yeah, okay, if I want that to be my goal, then I probably would need funding around that amount. That is where you can use potentially another budget that does exist, because you don't know right now. You aren't really creating a budget and hoping that you get that money. You're just creating a hypothetical one, but you must, quote unquote, play along. Also, please continue to come back to this video and the other videos as far as the breakdown of each section if you are ever lost or confused. Okay, continue to read through the directions, and now I'm just going to quickly break down what we're going to do, and then in the subsequent videos, I'm going to break down each of the parts. So there are 3 major parts of this project. The first is applying for your NGO to the city, right? It's like you're registering your LLC, but you're registering your NGO. Don't worry, I've got a backbone template for your application process that you are simply just going to fill out, and you're going to put in all the correct component areas, maybe some resources and some citations, and you're good to go, right? It's just kind of getting the juices flowing as far as thinking through these things. Then you're going to see a lot of that repeated, but now you're kind of blowing it out into a strategic plan, where now you're making an outline and you're putting in some physical information, some paragraph with some citation information, right, into your strategic plan. And again, I'll have a video that breaks that down. Then the last thing you're going to do is you're going to do a video pitch, right? Since we are not in a face-to-face setting where we would be in class and we would kind of be voting and everybody would be saying, oh, that's a good idea, or that's not a good idea. You have to submit your pitch, right? So it would be as if you were going to City Hall, you get your 5 minutes, because most of the time that's all you get to give your pitch to anything is 5 minutes. You've got to get really good, really clever at the way you're going to present the information that's going to really spark my interest and or others to vote for you to say you should get the voting and you should get that funding, right? And don't worry, I've got a couple resources in there that I will talk about in greater detail, and I'll break down these slide deck requirements. So this is the first thing that we've got to do, right? I just wanted to give you a very brief overview of what this is going to look like. And again, getting you to start to conceptually think through what the goal of the project is. So there is another follow-up video to come. And again, it is going to be around the first part, which is the application, and then the subsequent videos for the next two parts. All right, I'll see you in the next one.